Well, hello everyone, and thank you for joining us today on another episode of the Leadership for the Now show. And today I'm joined by Jonas Karles, who is co-founder and CEO of Minna Technology. Welcome, Jonas.
Thank you very much, Florian. Happy to be here. Super excited.
Yeah, great to have you. Great to have you. Now, we had a chance to sit together and speak a little bit a few months ago, and I was impressed by a model that I think you're going to share with us. But first of all, I want to kind of hear what is your view on leadership. Like, you're connected to some circles that many of us are not, and you are in the IT technology, in the fintech technology field, and you see some things that we cannot see. So first of all, what would you say is the temperature of leadership from your perspective?
So I think in a remote new world, and this is really interesting, as of today, I think Sweden is also closing down one step, so to speak. So in leadership has been more important than ever, but in a new way. So I think leadership has never, or not never, but it was a long time ago. Leadership was about saying to people exactly what they should do and how they should do it. But now, when everyone in my area at least works from home, leadership is really taking the step that we've been on a journey for like 40, 50 years to focus on leadership instead of management. And I think that's a great step for humanity. And it's also a very good step for companies because it's much more efficient and effective and fun.
Absolutely, yeah. And you're absolutely right. And how could we tell people what to do in today's world? We're not even able to. I think it's just adding tasks to the leaders on the leaders table, and instead of actually freeing our time so we can work on the bigger vision and the next things, then we actually add things to our agenda. So I absolutely see how that will help leaders, and it's essential in today's world. So what would be some of the things that you do at Mina? I know you have a model for that. So would you want to take us to that model and share that with us?
Yeah, sure. I've been using a model, got inspiration from many different sources, but I think I put the model into context here at Minna, and the model goes like 5 T's. But then, Florian, you helped me to translate it into 5 P's. So from now on, the model is reshaped and it's called the 5 P's. I think the first P then in what is really important with leadership is presence. So presence is the first one. And presence is basically about having time together. And that's the basis of all leadership. It is about being present, getting to know each other for real. Just like any other relationship you would have in the world, it is about spending time together and be present. And if you don't have this super fundamental in place, then you can't do good leadership. So that's the first P in the five
Right.
P's.
Can I stop you there for a moment? Because now we live in a time where it's more and more difficult to actually spend time, in our physical presence, like, together. How do you do that in a virtual setup? Or what would be some tips for leaders looking to have more time with their people?
Yeah, so I'm not sure that we need to translate presence from hanging out together, looking in each other's eyes, into a virtual context, doing the same thing but looking into a camera. I think presence can be something else. It's about all the interactions that you have a friendly tone, that you are respectful in your communication, especially in text communication. We have a thing here at Mina we call chat syndrome, and you've probably heard it in other companies as well. Like adding those 3 emojis or whatever in your message will help a lot to understand. So presence is perhaps more relevant right now than ever, because people do know if you're multitasking when you have a virtual meeting. I can promise you that anyone who's listening here and watching this, they would know if I'm looking at something else while I'm doing this interview. And there are basic things like, why should you have mute on your microphone? If you do a coughing or something, what's the danger of that? We are humans, that's fine. But being mute is you take directly a very passive position in a meeting. If I need to elaborate more, the next thing is of course camera off is a thing nowadays,
Yeah.
and camera off is not being present. So
Yeah.
mic on, camera on, and make sure that you're not multitasking. That's a great start for being present in a meeting. But then I think presence is also the broader thing of communication, basically.
All right. I mean, that makes it much more clear and makes a lot of sense because I also, when I discuss with leaders and there is a challenge for them to find time on their agenda to spend time with people, because they're looking for maybe spending half an hour or 1 hour with someone. And I think you're kind of nail it there because they could spend 5 minutes, but if those 5 minutes are focused on the person, right, and they're looking the person in the eye, or when they maybe call the person, they're not in the car, they're not doing something else, they're not commuting, then the person feels that, well, I'm important. Like, even if it's only 5 minutes, those 5 minutes are dedicated to me. So I think you're absolutely spot on. It's not the amount of time, but the quality of time and the focus that we give the person.
Agree fully. And then it's a balance between not going from 5 minutes to 1 minute.
Yeah.
There is a border that you can actually cross, that you should not do. Like, you need to have some time in order to be
Sure.
present. But then, yeah, this is a lot about being present in the now. Wherever you are, be there 100%. That's a famous quote, not by me.
Right on. Right on. Well, absolutely. What's the second P? So first is
The second
present.
P,
What's the second?
yeah, the second P in the 5 Ps is picture. And picture is about gaining clarity, giving clarity and gaining clarity. And it's only when we know what we need to know about each other that we can understand each other and create clarity. So even if, so let's say that you've spent some time together, you've been present, then it's
Mhm.
about having this picture of who is this person and what do I know about this person, because just knowing who you're talking with will give you clarity. And it's about body language, it's personality, and it's about way of working, etc. So getting to know how your direct reports, your peers, your managers, how they actually work, that picture, that needs to be clear. And having that picture clear, everything is easier. If you don't know who you're talking to and how that person is operating, then it's very, very hard to be a good leader. And to be a bit concrete here, at Minna Technologies, we did something great. I think it was 2 years ago. We started with something called a user manual. And it's a manual of how each employee at Minna works. We all operate in different ways, like
Mhm.
a radio or a computer or a watch. It operates in different ways. So you have user manuals to understand how to interact with the computer, radio, watch. The same thing is with humans, but even more complicated. So why don't you write a user manual on how you work? That's about giving picture clarity on who you are and how to work with you.
Wow, that's so good. So a user manual for your colleagues, right?
Yeah, you write it on your own. Hi, my name is Jonas. This is how I operate. When I'm
Mhm.
hungry, I'm angry. So help me with getting some food to me, for
Mhm.
example. And feedback, I prefer direct feedback, but ask me first if I'm ready for it. Things like that.
Oh yeah.
It sounds very natural when you talk about it, but believe me, it's a huge difference to having this documented or not having it documented. It's about picture.
Absolutely. Yeah. So picture it's actually clarity and it's not clarity about a vision. It's more clarity about who we are and who we have on the team and who is the leader and who are the people that we have to trust to work together, right, every single day.
Exactly.
Right on. And I love that because it gives a lot more clarity to the person when they know, for example, when I know your user manual, right, kind of, and I'm a supporter of that because I love assessments, right? And assessments do exactly the same thing. It gives you some intangible things you kind of know about yourself or you know about a person, but puts those into a format that you can use. So a user manual for the colleagues, absolutely brilliant. Thank you for sharing that. So what would be then the next P?
Next P is the third P, and we call it protection. And it's about like finally now we're starting to talk leadership here.
Right.
Protection is about it can also be like psychological safety, would someone say. And when you reach this level, because imagine this is a staircase. So the first level is presence, the second is picture, and the third one is protection. And when we reach this level, people will give you information because they feel secure. And information is crucial for your leadership and your organization's success. So, for as a leader, the main responsibility that you have is to be an information router, to take information from one side to and do interpretation, analysis, and give it out to another side, or call for all hands meeting, or have a one-on-one. Everything is about information. So you need to have security, some kind of protection for your direct reports, so they will give you that crucial information.
Right. So that saves probably a lot of time and money when it comes about the bad news, right? So who wants to bring the bad news if you don't know how that will be perceived? And this is the same with companies that pride themselves to be innovative and to we value innovation, but then the question is how do you handle failure? Right? In order to innovate, you have to fail, and you have to fail often. And then so if the person doesn't feel that it's secure enough to bring that information to the table, then usually problems escalate, right? So I can absolutely see how that will. It's essential. Like we talk about psychological safety, eh, very often. But how do you achieve that? And by having the time with the person, and then having clarity on who the person is, um, that allows for that psychological safety. So as you say, these build one upon each other. It's almost like Maslow pyramid, right? You cannot
Yep,
go to level 3 without having level 1 and 2.
exactly. Which brings us to level 4, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So the fourth P is we call it playfulness, and here we can start talking about the well-being, such as commitment to the organization, employee net promoter score, and other factors that leaders often are evaluated on. And remember, this is a level 4, so you can't start here. And here I see a lot of leaders try to start. They try to do well-being initiatives and have fun together. Yeah, playfulness to get these results that they are getting evaluated on, such as ENPS, etc.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't start here. You need to start with presence, and then the picture, and then the protection. Then you can reach playfulness, because no one will think it's fun to play around if they don't feel that they can trust you. Protection. If they don't know who you are, because then they can't trust you. A picture, and yeah, it goes down to presence. Yeah, I think you get it.
Yeah.
So again, it needs to go up and down in the staircase within these levels. And if you can't reach playfulness, look at the last one. Do I actually have provided protection to my talents?
Right. Yeah. And I know from playing a game that we call to be the leadership game. So this is a board game that we play with teams, and it's just a way for us to be able to help the team kind of lower personal barriers and open up and talk about the subjects that maybe they don't usually talk about. And we have found actually that the interaction in the team it's much better when sometimes in some organization when the leader is not in the room. And why is that, right? Maybe some of those elements from from the first three P's are missing, and because of that, then people are not ready to open. And so you cannot reach that playfulness. Maybe I say something wrong, maybe I do something wrong, I don't know how that will be perceived, how will that affect myself and my career. So absolutely right, I can see how this builds one upon each other, and it's impossible to reach this level without the other one. So what you say to leaders is like, when if they're focused only on the ENPS, right, and they're not looking what is missing that makes us not reach the ENPS score, then they're looking in the wrong place, right? They should look at the things that are needed in place in order for people to um, to feel that this is a secure place, and rate the company and the culture the way that the leaders want. That's very
Exactly.
interesting. Yeah.
Exactly. And
Wow.
then we reach like the final level of the
Mm-hmm.
5 Ps, which is why you are hired as a leader in your company, in your organization. This is why you get paid. You get paid for performance. The fifth P is performance. And now we're starting to compete with each other. Now we're starting to exceeding world-class results. And you as a leader have this foundation in place to really stand on and act on, like it's a platform to stand on. The other 4 Ps is a platform for you in order to make others perform. And that's what you paid for. So never ever forget the fifth level. That's what you get paid for. That's what you are here for. You are not here to be present. You're not here to have a clear picture of yourself with your talents. You're not here to provide protection. You're absolutely not here to do playfulness. All of those are just tools for you to reach level 5, which is help your talents to perform. And this is when people have these other 4 Ps in place, or you have put these 4 Ps in place, and then they are ready to be challenged. They're ready to develop as persons, and they want to have stretch goals and reach as targets, etc. But if you don't have the other 4 Ps, and especially with young talents, I think, and perhaps a bit junior talents, they need this even more. So if you don't know why your talents is not going to perform as you want them to do, then you need to go down one level. Have I showed them playfulness? Do we have fun together? Is this a place where we recommend others to work because it's fun to work here? Okay, if we don't have that level, back to third level. Okay, do I bring protection to my talents? Do they feel safe when they are around me here at this workplace, etc.? If not, go down again. Have they actually gotten to learn, don't know me as a leader? Is the
Mm.
picture of me clear? If not, go down to presence. So this staircase or these levels goes up and down all the time, and you will not like, oh, now I reached performance. Now all my 8 talents, my 8
Mhm.
direct reports, now they are performing. No. After 3 months, you might be down again, and you need
Right.
to revisit the 4 Ps below, previous 4 Ps. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I can see. I mean, this is so valuable. Thank you for sharing. And I can see how that is an ongoing, actually. I'm not going to call it battle, but it's almost like an ongoing process, right? Like you never stay to the fifth level, right? And maybe you are at different levels with different people in your organization, right? you know John Maxwell has a book called The Five Levels of Leadership, and then it's true that we are at different levels with different people. Maybe someone that's been with you for long, or you work together in another organization, you are at a different level. You might be at the performance level with the person, and you know each other well. But someone new joining the team, or someone maybe from another team, you might be at a completely different level with them. And so that's such an important awareness for us to understand that it's not just a one-time work and we get to level 5 and we stay there and that's done, right? It's never like that.
Exactly. And then I think sometimes when I have presented this 5 Ps model for for my leaders at Minna Technologies, I get a response like, oh, but we don't have time to do all of this. Like, I just want people to perform. Well, take it easy. I'm not talking about a 3 month program here. You can actually achieve all of these 5 levels quite fast. It's just about doing it in the right order and not trying to start at level 5. So I'm never suggesting to do this like a long-term program. This is something that's always ongoing. It's just a good reminder. Like, why is this person not thinking it's fun to work here? Well, protection. Go back to protection, etc.
Right. Oh wow, thank you. Yeah, that's great, and I understand how that would be a really good reminder for any leader. Like, okay, where am I with this person? Like we call this in business, in sales, in leadership, is called rapport, right? So you have a rapport with this person, and you have different levels of rapport with different person, and so the thing is just for us to remind ourselves, like, if I'm not getting what I want from Jonas, then I probably have to see where what's missing out of the 5 Ps in this case. This has been such a great tool. Thank you for sharing with us. What would be, let's maybe look a little bit in the future. Like, what would you say would be like 3 essential qualities for a leader in 2022? Like, if someone wants to be on top of their leadership skills in 2022, what would you say are some essential skills for them?
So 2022 will likely be a COVID-19 year again,
Seems
in
like that.
some way, which means we will have virtual meetings. And if not virtual, we will have hybrid meetings with some physical presence in the room and some on a screen like we have now. And that is what I refer to as the new normal. And I think 3 things that leaders should focus on in that is, we can start with the first one, which we already talked about, 5 Ps. I think that's what I go back to. So in a virtual world or in a new normal, how do I achieve level 5 performance for my talents? And then more importantly, in this context, how do I perform these 4 Ps before in a virtual context? We touched on it in the beginning here as well.
Yeah.
How are you present with your talents now? But we already talked about that. Second one, I would say that there is a challenge right now when it comes to not productivity. That's very easy to achieve. Not creativity, because there are so good tools right now. You can do whiteboards online. You can do a lot of workshops online. I would not worry about that. I would worry about social context. How do you bring social context to your talents in your organization 2022? And this touches on what we talked about before, presence, but social context is more. For me, it's not just feeling of belonging. It is also the coffee machine talk, so to speak. When you are by the coffee machine and you have a spontaneous discussion. Sometimes we refer to, oh, that's where great ideas are born. Sure, that's true. But I'm not only talking about creativity and performance in terms of business performance. Social context is when you hear someone with another opinion than you, because you are just happen to work at the same workplace. And I think thinking 2, 3, 4 times about this as a leader 2022 is super successful. You will be really, really successful if you nail this. I have not nailed this yet, so please contact me. You can add me on LinkedIn. We can have a chat about it, because I think this is so important, not just for your organization, not just for the talent. This is about world impact, because we need to meet the people that we usually don't meet. And have those informal discussions by the coffee machine or lunch table or whatever. So social context, that's a challenge to everyone out there.
Right. Well, I can see how that it's it's essential, and we achieve this by having a workplace where people will meet. But how do we do that in a virtual setup? I don't have the solution either, so I'm also all ears and eyes to see what that will look like. But I can see how that's a challenge for leaders, and those that are able to overcome that. they'll be the one leading in 2022 and beyond.
I think so too. Okay, then thinking about the third thing that is important. I think another framework, we talked about the 5 Ps, and I'm not going to do a long version of this, but there is another one which is very, very important. So we talk about a remote workforce where you can't manage your talents. You need to trust them and they need to find out the house themselves. So how do you do that? I think there are 3 things. One, be super clear with the why. Be super clear with the purpose and why this certain task is important. Second, be very clear with what the vision is for this, like the scope or definition of done. So the expected result is super clear. Once the purpose is clear and the expected result is clear, the vision that you have, then they can start figuring out the house themselves. If there's one more thing, they will only figure out the house themselves if they feel seen and that you like them, that you trust them. So the first thing was why, then what, and then the third thing is how do they feel after each interaction with you as a leader. And it's only about the feelings. It's nothing else, only about the feelings. And it's about being conscious as a leader about how they are feeling. Not always should everyone feel good in a happy mode. No. You need to be able to give feedback and so on, but you should be conscious of how your talents feel. If you have a clear why, you have a clear what, and you know how your talents feel, then I'm sure that they will figure out the house themselves. And that is important in a remote first world, I would say, 2022.
Wow, that's so good. Absolutely. I can see that where so many leaders go wrong is now because people are working remotely. Now we need to control them even more and or give them even more directions on the how, rather than going back to the why and the what, and being aware of how am I perceived as a leader by my team. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. That's spot on. Like, the closing question usually is like, if you would have to pick one word or one sentence to describe leadership for the now, so what would that be for you? Like, what does it mean to lead in today's world? Like, just a brief kind of a summary of your thinking onto leadership for the now.
Leadership today is, I think, really defined on how you can provide a social context to people that no other institution or organization in the world can do. If you are joining a political party, everyone else have the same belief as you. If you're joining a sports club, everyone else is good at the same skill as you are. If you're attending a church, everyone believes in the same God as you do, etc. Workplace, I think, is one of the few places where you actually meet different people. And I think it's so important and it's so relevant in leadership for the now.
Oh, wow. Wow, that's so good. And I can see, because on one side, we want diverse workplaces, right? We want people with different beliefs and different backgrounds, right? And that's actually the challenge into, leading those people to work together in a spirit of harmony and providing that social context. Thank you so much, Jonas. It was a pleasure having you on the show today. Thank you for sharing with us the 5 Ps. I learned a lot. I know we had some conversations on this already, but I can see how that would become a more, even a more important tool to have in 2022 and beyond. So thank you so much for sharing that with us, and thank you for being on the show.
Thanks for having me, Florian. Great dialogue.
Yeah, thank you. Take care. And for those of you watching, I look forward to see you again on the next episode. That will be on the 22nd of December. Take care. Speak soon. Bye-bye.